And every quarter we try and get an international dignitary. So last quarter we had Dominic, and this quarter we have Dr. Hock, who graces, and of course we have Janita also attending this session. That's a real honor. And today's topic is a very engaging topic amongst the chief audit executives as to how do we nurture the new gen auditors. So that's something which which we need to kind of deliberate. So we thought maybe why don't we have a conversation with some senior chief audit executives and also a new gen auditor. So that was the format. So we have Dr. Hock from Malaysia, who also has a huge network of internal audit professionals running the Internal Audit Without Walls. And we have Rajiv, he's our own, like Rajiv, because he's our CA member, and he's actually in fact a host from us. And we have a new gen auditor, Divya Sekhar, and who is representing the new gen. So with this, I will just hand over the session to Dr. Hock to give a small intro about Audit Without Walls, and also he is also the former Auditor General of ADB Asian Development Bank. Over to Dr. Hock.
Hey, Dhanavad, Bhaskarji. Okay, I shall do this. Yes. Namaste, Vanakkam, Ahlan, Ni Hao, hello, bonjour, privé, and hola. I hope that sounds well. I'm trying to cover all the 2 major languages in India, as well as all the 6 UN languages. For me, it's an honor to be here in the presence of an esteemed group of chief audit executives. Most people just call me Hock Chye. My experience in the last 30 years was primarily in the public sector, with 2 development banks in the US, as well as in Asia, and the United Nations Agency in Eastern Europe. So I'm now retired. So retiring and living in Malaysia allows me the time to focus on 3 passions that is dear to me. Those 3 passions are technology, youth, and the sustainability. Sustainability is a big word. What I meant is basically environment, social, and governance, what we usually call ESG. At present, I'm actually nurturing an online knowledge sharing community that Bhaskarji mentioned for auditors called Audit Without Walls. The community has about 1,000+ members connected to public sector from over 100 countries. The hot topic discussed in the community now is mentoring young auditors to be future ready. A topic that's actually apt for the discussion today. Let me stop here, and maybe I'll pass over to Rajiv to say his piece. Over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Dr. Hock, and good morning, everyone. My name is Rajiv Gupta. I'm currently the group head of internal audits at Flipkart. And just like Dr. Hock said, I'm also really excited and looking forward for this fantastic discussion on this topic, both from the lens of the CAEs as well as the NextGen Auditors. So we have one on the screen right now, and we have many of you, listening to us. And in between, we'll also, request some of you to please unmute yourself and share your perspective, so that this can be a good 2-way communication instead of 1-way. With that, over to you, Divya.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. Very good morning, all of you. Greetings. I'm, extremely thrilled to be a part of today's event, such a wonderful event, and it's a great honor to be among all of you. I'm Divya Sekhar, a chartered accountant. I have also done CFA, currently working as manager internal audit in Flipkart Group as well. Prior to this, I was working as a consultant in the risk advisory services in Ernst & Young, and also had a short stint in Arvind Lifestyle. My experience is about over 6.5 years in internal audit, and also been involved in other reviews like anti-corruption, IFC, SOPs, etc. around risk optimization and control solutions. So really looking forward to a very fruitful discussion today. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Dr. Hock, thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Divya. I also want to take this opportunity to welcome Aditya Bhatt, the president of IA India. So Aditya, can you just switch on your camera for a minute so that we can all see you? Aditya. Okay, I think
can
you
you sorry Bhaskar, can you hear me? I'm actually outside, so give me some time, I'll get back.
Okay, sure, no problem. So welcome on board. So great.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar.
Thanks for taking your time. And just to start off our discussion, we thought we just do a quick poll of the people who are present. What is the kind of generation which we represent. So maybe Narendra, maybe if it is possible to flash the poll, please, and I will request all participants to participate.
Wow, we have a majority born before 1990.
Wow. So we are almost 80%, representing the old generation. I mean, the way you So if we just go by the age, but that also brings to an interesting question. I just want to kind of start.
Shall I share the poll with the audience also?
Yeah.
Let me share.
Yeah. So has everybody participated on the poll, including the audience?
Yeah, we got
37
46
out of 46 participated.
Yeah.
46 participated.
Okay,
We
great.
we got all.
Okay, so the composition, largely, represents before 90. So 80% of us, whosoever is present here, so we seem to have born before 90. So, okay, that doesn't mean anything. But again, the definition of, what is next gen, that's an interesting conversation which we could have. So, I mean, I will request Dr. Hock to maybe straight away, share his views. Maybe just then maybe Rajiv can share his perspectives and Divya, Because yeah, thank you.
Sure, Mr. Bhaskar. I'm going to change to call him Mr. Bhaskar instead of Bhaskar Ji.
Yeah,
So
just call Bhaskar here, this is something. Don't call me anything else.
Okay, Mr. Bhaskar, I was a CAE because my previous bosses had actually helped me in my career. So now I'm actually merely paying forward to the next generation. So I use the term next generation to define time. According to Wikipedia, people born after 91 is what they call Generation Y or millennials, while people born after 1997 is Generation Z. So the next generation of internal audit leaders will be millennials who are at present in the age group of 25 to 40 age group. And the next generation of internal auditors would be from Generation X. I inherited a millennials team that had an average age of 34 years old when I joined the Asian Development Bank. They're very fast and very techy. So together with them, we could do quite a number of innovative stuff in audit, such as using drones, implementing robotic process automation, or what we call bots, and embracing artificial intelligence or AI. Let me stop here and pass it over to Rajiv. Over to you, Rajiv.
Yeah, sure, Dr. Hock. So since you have shared the definition, I would just add that I define next-gen auditors as basically the young auditors among us who are the digital natives, basically the ones who have grown up, in the world of smartphones. And why we are spending time on this particular topic because currently, if you see, on an average, about 25% of our workforce, including in internal audit function globally, comprises of the young auditors, those who were born on or after very close to 1990s, yeah, and the future belongs to them. And that is why it becomes very important for us, as leaders, to ensure that we are nurturing them the right way. We are grooming them in such a manner that they love working for us as a company and us as a function. I have some, learnings which I, got very hard way. Around 10 years ago was my first a team member who I would call as next gen auditor. And I actually had some disasters in managing, that team member. I learned a lot, from that experience. And over, last 10 years, I have improved on managing, especially the younger team members and the so-called, NextGen Auditors. So in next, hour or so, along with, Dr. Hock and Divya, I will be sharing some of those learnings, and hopefully you don't have to go the harder way. Yeah, thank you. So with that, Dr. Hock, let me circle back to you. Once now we are on the same base in terms of our definition of NextGen Auditors. Based on your experience, do you think the factors which motivate, us means, you, me, and other leaders, they also motivate the NextGen Auditors, the young auditors among us? What are your views and experience on that?
A good question, Rajiv. What motivates us to work? I guess a simple answer is we money to pay bills, right? So I would think that most of us work at some point because we have to pay our bills. But more seriously, the motivation to work depends on your generation group and where you are in what we call the Maslow hierarchy of needs. The Maslow hierarchy of needs is a theory of motivation with 5 what they call layers or ladders of human needs that will decide on your behavior. When I started my first job, I'm a baby boomer. So my goals were basically physiological. It meant finding a job to buy food, clothing, and shelter. Over the years, I moved up the ladder slowly. So now I'm at a stage where I'm actually seeking, of course, at a stage where I'm seeking respect, recognition, and freedom to do what I want to do. The younger generation, those in generations Y and Z, Divya's generation, are in a much better position than I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. They now have ready access to enormous data and technology. I did not own a mobile until the year 2000. Now, every young person I know carry a mobile, a technology tool. So my question to the young generation is, if you are using technology for your personal life, should you not also be using technology in internal audit? If you're not using technology in audit, you should start doing so. If not, basically you'll be left behind. And it's best to start small. Like we say when we implement technology in the Asian Development Bank, we take a baby step, and then we reflect and we look forward and move on to the next step. A good friend of mine, I think many of you may know, he likes to use this phrase about implementing technology, and he uses to tell me, Hock Chye, don't boil the ocean to make a cup of tea. You should start small. Let me stop here and let me pass over to Rajiv.
Sure. No, thanks for that interesting perspective. So Divya, why don't you add, from NextGen Auditors perspective, what motivates you, over and above, for example, good salary or maybe the designation which you have? What else motivates you to do better?
Thank you, Rajiv, for asking that question. So, I hope I could say, it's bean bags and unlimited food at workspace, but I'm not going to say that because I'm from this generation. In fact, what I would say is, as Dr. Hock rightly put it. So I think we are living in an environment, right, where we have such easy access to technology, and there is enormous amount of data in everything. So I think the motivators for us are largely shaped by the environment in which we are living right now. So if I have to say, for example, earlier, I think, the previous generation, maybe they used to compare themselves, their own performance with their peers in the same team or the same organization. But today, with the enablement of social media and so much data available, I can compare myself or where I stand with literally anyone across the globe, right? And LinkedIn as a platform, for example, enables that. Today, if I want, I can compare myself with my school friends or my college friends, my ex-organization peers, or anyone in my age group across the globe who is doing well. And I think as a generation, we are extremely competitive. I mean, we tend to compare a lot. And what really triggers a thought in our minds is, and the other thing is, when I log into LinkedIn or even Facebook for that matter, it's filled with success stories, right? Every news I read, it's about someone who has been promoted, or someone having attained a new role, or having achieved something, being given an award for something. So you don't find failure stories. All I see is success stories, and that kind of imprints a rosy picture, and I see the rosy side of things on LinkedIn. And then I tend to think, where do I stand compared to these peers? Am I doing well enough? So at least, if not better, I have to be on par with these peers. So that becomes, so I would say that would be the first motivator, which is in fact peer pressure enabled by social media, and of course shaped by our environment in which we are living in. That's number one. Number two, I feel as a generation, we are extremely impatient, right? I mean, we don't have half the patience level which our previous generation had. And that's also because everything becomes easily available. I think back then, people had to wait for an entire week for a new episode to come on television, and only then they would have to, they would get to see that episode. But today, what I have to do is log on to Netflix, and then I binge watch and then finish the entire season. So, that's how our thought process is also being, shaped. So instant gratification, that's what I would say. I think we as a generation, we are always thinking about instant gratification. And same with work, right? So I'm working right now in the internal audit department. So when I feel I'm doing something, I'm working hard, or I'm working on particular observation, doing data analytics to find out this observation, if it doesn't make an impact, if it doesn't make any difference to the organization, I would feel demotivated. So, some of the factors which were earlier motivators, like, as you rightly mentioned, like, pay scales in line with industry standard, or basic working conditions, all those have become hygiene factors now. What really, fuels us, or, what really drives us and act as real motivators are these things, right? Which is, recognition, sense of accomplishment, of adding value to the organization, being able to connect with the big picture. I think, in my view, that is something which acts as real motivators. But I'm open to, again, I'm trying to represent my views here. People, my people of my generation may have a different view, but this is what I feel. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Divya, fully agreed. And some of these things I learned harder way over last 10 years. A couple of more things, Divya, I learned, and maybe you can echo your thoughts. One is, especially our younger self, I would say, our younger colleagues. You prefer to work in a company or in an environment where you actually get opportunities to try something new, to try something new, to do something beyond the monotonous task of, doing the audit planning, field work, closure, reporting, and so on. So that's something which I have seen, that to retain young high performers, we need to engage them beyond standard audits. Yeah, so that's one, additional learning, Divya, I had. Second, and this is something I see when I interact with you, in our day-to-day operations as well. Our younger colleagues, you all are looking for almost real-time communication. If you're there, are you doing well, professionally or as a person? You want that information to come as quickly as possible, rather than at the year end. The generation in which actually I belong to, where we used to work 364 days, and 365th day we used to get our result, whether we have passed or failed. And we used to feel very bad many times in those younger days that, Arey Baba, we were there with you for 364 days. If there was a developmental area, why, it didn't come to us that time? I think you guys have this sorted out. You don't want to wait for the year end. And even I have seen you don't want to wait even for quarterly check-ins. Yeah. After every audit or every engagement or every assignment, you want to be really updated of things which can impact you as a professional. And I think that way you guys are much better placed to groom yourself as compared to people like me. I'm not generalizing, but I'm talking about me as a professional. Third thing, Divya, which I also learning from you guys is, for many of you, work is not the only most important thing in your life. Yeah. Unlike people like me, who felt that whatever time is left after work is for rest of the things. Yeah. And now I am changing. Let me, share with this group. I'm learning from you guys that work definitely is important, but work is not the only important thing in life, which we sometimes call, work-life balance as well. But within work-life balance, why work-life balance? This is the reason which I'm learning from all of you. So those were some additional learnings I had over the last few years. Yeah. So Narendra, we have the next poll coming in, right?
Yes, just launching it.
Okay. I guess I'm retired, so I'll just press as none then.
Request everyone to participate wholeheartedly so that we have an idea.
We have 63 participants. We are almost halfway there. So.
We are all going to end. Please participate. Those who haven't participated.
Does this number include the panel members also? Maybe some of us?
No, panelists can't participate.
Oh, I can't. Okay. Okay.
And any of the panelists won't be in a position to participate.
Okay. So okay. Let me take back my vote.
Okay. I am ending the poll. Over to you, Hock Chye, to share the.
Yeah, I noticed that I can share the results, right? So let me do that. I noticed that majority, about 50%, is it has basically generation Z in 1 to 4 category, followed by 5 to 10, and a smaller percentage has more than 11, and in fact a bit more than has none. So I would say a majority of the people in the audience have 1 to 4 generation basically Z in a group, which because those born after 1990. So the results looks interesting for me, because for auditors born in 1990, they will probably be in the age group of 20 to 30 by now. And what makes it even more interesting, without knowing the demographics of the participants in the audience, India has a very young population, according to Wikipedia. Just to share a fact, in 2020, the average age of an Indian was 29 years old. He has more than 50% of the population below the age of 25, and more than 65% below 35. It's amazing. I mean, the growth potential that India has with such a young population, and all we need to do now is, as internal audit leaders, is to tap the potential, and India will be like flying way past Mars. But let me stay on then and ask Divya a question. Divya, our next generation internal auditors is other than you, all of us are in the panel members are basically a bit older than you. So what we like to learn from someone in your generation is, what are the skills required for the next generation auditors? Over to you, Divya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hock. I mean, this is a really interesting question, and I think something which really sets me contemplating. I think I'd start my answer with one of my favorite quotes by Alvin Toffler, right? It says that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. It would be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think today we are in this kind of scenario. So, I think we're all living in a VUCA world today. I think we've been hearing this term quite often. It's a, very dynamic environment and a world full of, vulnerability, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguities, right? So with the advent of emerging technologies, with literally in every field, be it AI, ML, or robotics, or, cryptocurrency and blockchain, or for that matter, even metaverse for that matter now, around which there is a lot of buzz right now. Facebook is planning to change its name to, repurpose its new focus on metaverse, which is, nothing but the concept of augmented reality or virtual reality. So I think we are, the technology as well as the risk landscape is changing at an enormous pace. It's such a dynamic environment. So I think in this situation, I think we internal auditors or, people of my generation, we face a make or break choice, that is disrupt or be disrupted, right? It is extremely important to, evolve, adapt, and transform in order to actually add value to the organization in this new paradigm. So, it's very, very important, for, our generation to, continuously upskill and learn the new tools and techniques, be it advanced data analytics or even the concept of these emerging technologies in order to be able to audit them. But having said that, I would say that there is a difference between knowledge of tools and the skills, right? Knowledge of tools is one thing where, I can go and learn a particular tool, be it R or, SQL or some advanced data analytics tool, but that is confined to the tool. The skill is actually deriving meaningful insights from that data or data analytics. Maybe let me take an example here of, correlation and causation. There was a study which was done where, based on the correlation, the statistical technique used, the data actually gave results that, the increase in ice cream consumption actually leads to increased homicides in a particular region, which is absurd, right? So the data shows perfect positive correlation between, these two data points, but the data is absurd. It doesn't make sense, right? So this is where internal auditors come in. Even in our daily internal audit work, when we resort to data analytics as an approach and analyze this data, it doesn't just end there. It's important. So I feel that, we have to go dig deeper, check out that what is the root cause behind those exceptions? Do they actually make sense? And giving the right recommendations to business. Now, this is something which will be relevant, not just in the current scenario, but also in the days to come. Now, well, having said this, I also feel that, there are certain skills which are, more important. And I mean these on a softer side, right? So apart from the technical skills, which I talked about, persuasion skills, presentation skills, design thinking, creative thinking, and problem solving abilities. The ability to make an elevator pitch, when you see the CEO and get him interested in your audit observation and actually, get him to implement an action plan based on your observation. Now, these are skills which are relevant today and will also remain relevant in the days to come. And more importantly, I think something which our generation has maybe, lost a bit of focus is, emotional intelligence and social intelligence, right? I think our ways of working might have become a little more mechanical. So there's so much to do, right? And we have a to-do list that, I have to, get the action plans from the process owner, the data is pending, the response is pending, etc. So, when I go to do a meeting with a process owner, maybe unconsciously, I straight away get down to the agenda, right? So there is the human element, right? The importance of actually, striking a balance between building the right stakeholder relationship and then getting down to business. I think it's really important that, we also build a trust and a relationship with the stakeholders, right? There's no harm in starting with, how have you been doing, and, whether things have been going fine and whether the stakeholder needs any particular support from the auditor in terms of implementing an observation, understanding the challenge, if at all something has not been done. Now, that is something, which comes with, I think, emotional intelligence and social intelligence, which I think our previous generation are, way ahead of us, far, far better than us. They do understand the value and importance of that. So that is something I think, while, knowledge of all these tools and techniques, the emerging technologies, definitely they're very, very important. But also equally important is, having the right balance and also sharpening our emotional and social intelligence skills. So those are just my views, but I'm all ears, Dr. Hock and Rajiv, to hear your views on this.
Thank you, Divya. This is fantastic because I like the way you categorize between having a knowledge and also applying that knowledge, basically to apply to become a skill. And I also could resonate with you very, very well where besides the technical knowledge, emotional intelligence, especially in internal audit field, plays a large part in how we move ahead. But let me ask the same question to Rajiv, and on the same question, over to you, Rajiv.
Sure. So I will just complement what Divya shared. A couple of more things which which I have observed. One is, let us all be ready to unlearn and then relearn in next 2 to 3 years on recurring basis. So that's one thing, which I strongly believe in. Gone are the days, I mean, at least I belong to that school of thought. I used to belong to that school of thought that now I have become a chartered accountant. I am 22, 23-year-old. Now I'm all prepared to survive and thrive in this world for next 40 years. At least I became chartered accountant thinking that. And it didn't take much time for me to get corrected. Yeah. And earlier I used to feel that every 7 to 10 years, you may have to add some new skill. But the way things are moving, the speed which things are moving, 2 to 3 years is now the average. So for example, some of us or some of the team members, audit team members, they learned a particular programming language. Yeah. By the time they learned it, they spent 1 or 2 years in learning that. By the time something new may have come.
Yeah.
Right now, for example, the focus is on those tools and techniques which require no coding. So, many of us who spend time in learning, for example, R, Python, this and that, in next 6 months or a year, our friends and colleagues who haven't learned these type of languages, they can be equally effective than us, as compared to us. So let us keep our eyes and ears open, the way world is moving. So that is one point, Dr. Hock. Second is, when you are identifying a skill to upskill yourself, my suggestion is do it when that skill is still carrying the premium. And the premium is, the highest premium is in first 5 years of that new technology. In the next 5 to 7 years, the premium reduces. And on an average, after 12 years, 10 to 12 years of that technology coming in, it becomes a commodity. It no longer remains an emerging technology. For example, MS Excel. Now, nobody asks you that whether you know how to use MS Office. It is now a commodity. You are supposed to know it. But in year 2000, many of us are, from that time. In year 2000, that used to be one of the, same here, Dr. Hock, that used to be one of the interview questions. Do you know how to operate MS Excel? Do you know how to operate MS Word? And let me share with you, in year 2002, before I joined a CA firm, I learned advanced Excel offline, yeah, in a classroom setting, so that I joined that company, right? So, but now we don't even ask that. So it is now commoditized. Yeah. The third point is what auditors do today is going to change significantly. So my suggestion is, let us learn how we do audit just to understand how it is done today. Tomorrow is going to be very different. And that tomorrow is not yet available either in the books or on Google. So you can't find that. So you learn today's tricks of trade just so that you know. But my request is, don't get stick to that this is how I will do for next, whatever 30, 40 years. So those were few points I wanted to add. And Dr. Hock, since Janita is also here with us, maybe we can request her perspective as well on this question.
Good idea. Could I call Janita John, our former chair of the Global IA, if she could pen or share with us a couple of thoughts that she could share when she was the head of Global for a year. I guess it was a time when the pandemic, so she didn't have much time to travel. So, but she has been invited and attended quite a number of events, which I follow as well. So, Janita, if you are online and maybe you could turn on the audio camera to share some thoughts.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And it's really wonderful listening to all of you. And this session in itself is very inspiring for me and hopefully motivational for the audit profession and the youngsters and everybody that's online at the moment. So I've had, yes, a wonderful year being chairman. I still serve on the board of the IIA. And yes, I may not have been able to physically travel, but I think I hold the record in terms of being the first chairman to have reached over 23 countries and over 30,000 participants across the world. And to just engage and learn from everybody globally in a borderless society that we live in. So I've enjoyed listening to the speakers that came before me, and I'm going to refer to some of the aspects that have been shared, and I echo all the sentiments in terms of learning and unlearning and relearning. And I wanted to remind you of my theme, which I think holds today as well, around reimagining resilience with tact and embracing the concept of tact as internal auditors. And I'm going to talk through what TACTT stands for. So like the good doctor said, and Divya mentioned it as well as Rajiv, it begins with embracing technology. We've got to be tech savvy and find smarter ways to fuel our audit processes with the creativity and innovation, allowing us to be proactive. Yes, we are living in that VUCA world. It's now changed to tuna world, turbulent, uncertain, novel world, and agile world that we live in. The other one on the A actually stands for agility. Now, it's not only our audit approach that needs to be agile. We learn everything about different types of agility that we've got to embrace in our audit process, in our methodology, but very much our mindset. And this conversation on having a debate between next generation auditors, future auditors, as well as previous generations of auditors, we've got to have our mindset agile so that we reprioritize our work that we do seamlessly and we are able to respond swiftly to emerging issues. Our biggest priority is helping to accelerate business performance, is helping the business to succeed in terms of its strategic intent. And we need to be absolutely aligned. And to be aligned, we have to be agile. And now the C stands for collaboration. And here I'm going to bring in the concepts of innate intelligence. Now the pandemic actually showed us the real importance of collaboration. What does this mean? I talk about innate intelligence. I'm sure some of you would have heard me speak about IQ and EQ, your intelligence quotient, your emotional intelligence, And I heard Divya mention social intelligence. I call it the collaborative quotient, which is how do we actually harness the cultural, connective, collective, collaborative intelligence that exists within all disciplines in the governance ecosystems in the companies that we serve. Now, here lies that ability to communicate and recognize talent. That becomes absolutely key. I also refer to our auditors as, we are not the specialists. The specialists sit in first and second line. We are the enthusiasts. So we need to respect the work that they do. We need to be able to harness their intelligence. And Divya, the one point you made on recommendations, no longer we should be making recommendations. We should be paired with the organization. We should be having debates around what is the actual remediation effort that's needed. And you get so much more buy-in when it comes from the first and second line where the specialists sit. So instead of calling it recommendation, we call it agreed management action. So what you're doing as an internal auditor is that you're actually harnessing the intelligence, the collaborative intelligence from the different areas. And you sort of rubbing egos to say, you know what, you're the specialist, you know your business. You need to understand the exposure if a risk manifests in the organization. And in doing that, we're able to collectively come up with what would be a solution or a remedy for an audit observation that's been made. Rajiv and Divya, you also mentioned the communication aspect, the innovation aspect. Now, the last two T's in my TACTT is talent and tenacity. We need to continuously invest in personal growth. Like Rajiv was saying around Excel, I actually had a little bit of a giggle there. Yes, when we were young, it was when we were being interviewed, can you actually work on MS Office? Now it's aspects around artificial intelligence, data science, all of these things you've got to invest in for your personal growth and for your skills to remain fresh, for you to remain commercially savvy. And in that way, your skills and experience actually aligns with organizational priorities. It actually aligns with the future as well. It'll help us to adopt and adapt to new realities and deliver on our stakeholder expectations with tenacity, courage, and persistence needed. Now you're seeing with the younger generation, yes, they are able to share their views. They're a lot more confident. You need that courage and persistence, because what's more important now for internal auditors is that we're no longer just serving the organization, we're also serving the public good. So you need that to be able to deliver impactful reports to enable better informed risk-based decisions. So courage and tenacity becomes absolutely key as we navigate these difficult terrains that we in and we see in terms of emerging issues. So yes, transformation, sustainability, resilience for our profession specifically depends on us embracing TACTT. So you've got to know your priorities. Yes, you have to integrate your life because, and like Rajiv was saying, work-life balance. For me, with this borderless society we're in, you're able to do that now so much better. We all know what's important in life. We all know that when you're juggling so many balls, one that will fall and break and will not recover is your family, is your friends. So you need to make sure you have that type of balance in the way you actually operate. And there I encourage the baby boomers, the Gen X's, the Gen Y's to actually embrace that. So allow people to work remotely, ensure you have the right performance management systems in place to enable productivity. We all are adults, we all are professionals, we all want to add value. And the way you do that is you respect each other's boundaries, you respect each other's priorities. So yeah, really great being here with you guys and listening to all of you. I honor you. For me, this is such a phenomenal profession to be in, and there's so much we can learn from each other. Thank you so much for that.
And wow, we are missing you over the camera. Maybe if you can switch on your camera, it's possible. I know that it's breakfast time. I know. We're dying to see you.
It's very early here, yaar. It's very early.
I know.
Janita, ma'am, we could have taken your photographs also, na? We are not
wanted a photograph,
photograph.
Yeah, maybe with Aditya, with you, we can have
Janita,
a photograph.
they want you, Janita.
No, you're not going to get me now. You're not going to get me now. It's actually very early. Like I said to Bhaskar, my family's waiting at the breakfast table to
It's 8
say,
a.m.,
Mom, where's breakfast?
Thank you, Janita.
Janita.
I know it's
Pleasure.
very early where you are in South Africa, so thank you for joining us. I like the acronym TACTT, and I think I'm going to write it down and put it up on my wall so as a reminder that I need to be tactful and remember the word TACTT, tenacity as well. But before I close the discussion, I thought it's good for us to remind ourselves what we actually learned in this discussion is basically three things. We need to learn, we need to cultivate relationships, and we need to embrace technology. With that, without holding too much back, let me pass over to Narinder, who's actually waiting eagerly to run his next poll. Over to you, Narinder.
Yeah, going to run.
Well, it looks like there's a general agreement that the next gen is actually technology more savvier than us. Some are not sure, but the majority support the statement that the generation next is in my team are technologically savvier than I am. So.
Okay, going to end the poll. Sharing the results.
Wow, so almost 80% of us are of this view, Dr. Hock, that NextGen colleagues, not only auditors, I would say, I have seen in other functions as well. So they are, technologically savvier than us. So maybe on that note, Dr. Hock, maybe I can ask you the next question. See, these days we are talking about, gig economy, gig world, yeah. So in that type of environment where the new gen, not only auditors, I mean, new gen professionals, they like to experiment. They like to pursue, different careers, different verticals, not only vertically, horizontally as well. And, which includes some stint in internal audit. So in that type of environment, how do you think, the nurturing of auditors can be shaped?
Wow, Rajiv, a great question on nurturing the next generation. Tell me, how much time do I have? I could speak forever on this topic. But maybe let me start the discussion with a tweet on Twitter by Sir Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Air and one of the most influential businessmen. He once tweeted in his Twitter post, train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to leave. So as a CAE, it must be in our DNA to offer the best learning opportunities to auditors so they can excel in what they do for you and the company. And equally important is also to treat them with the same respect as we would do to our parents, so they won't want to leave us or the company. So in a nutshell, we as CAE must nurture the next generation to excel. Whether they want to excel or not want to excel is actually outside our question. But it meant we have to make the best of what we must do to nurture them by offering them all the learning opportunities within our parameters, of course, so they can be better than what they are today. That's the least I think we could do for them. Nurturing the next generation, to me, would also mean finding them a mentor. Mentoring internal auditor is a hot topic these days. Please allow me to share 3 examples that came out in the last maybe a month or so. First, the IIA Inc. Has launched what they call the IIA Emerging Leaders Mentoring Program. The program is open to all internal auditors, but they must be IIA members to be a mentor or mentee. Second, closer to home where we are in Asia, the IIA Singapore started a mentorship program to nurture internal auditors as early as 2017. That's 4 years ago. We can learn so much from the 4-year experience of IIA Singapore for the benefit of all the other chapters in the Asia Pacific region that did not avail a mentoring program to nurture young auditors. And third and last, we in the Audit Without Walls community initiated a virtual global internal audit students chapter to enable internal audit students to learn from the internal audit community, basically the Audit Without Walls community, anywhere, anytime. The aim is actually to provide the students ready access to internal auditors worldwide. We have about 1,000 members from 100 countries. So by becoming a member, they actually have access to global internal audit knowledge and in a spirit of sharing and also continuing lifelong learning in internal audit. So these are the 3 examples which I thought, and I wanted to bring forward the discussion of mentoring because as one technique to move forward the next generations, we can actually, with us a bit more gray hair, maybe we can become a mentor to some the next generation, and they could learn our mistakes and also our success. But that way, history will always is a good lesson. So over to you, Rajiv.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hock. I mean, love the perspective, including the one when you said respect is so important, yeah, and treating everyone at par. I mean, gone are the days where where for example, especially in consulting, the background from which I belong, I mean, ages ago, the audit partner used to be treated almost equivalent to God, yeah, and there used to be there used to be one-way communication, right? But now is the time for reverse mentoring as well, yeah. I have seen some of the very successful examples of that, including one from my previous organization where one of the next-gen professional, not only auditor, professional, did reverse mentoring to the company's MD. So that, that young professional, I think it was person was a CA or MBA finance, for the full day, for 1 month, attended all the meetings, participated on all the discussions with the MD. And every Friday, he gave feedback to the MD, what he's doing well, what he's not doing well. Yeah. So that is, I mean, so gone are the days where you used to feel that since we are, for example, CAEs, we know everything. It is about, we sharing our learnings and, the next gen sharing their perspectives as well. So I think I could easily resonate with that point. And, since we have, Aditya, the IIA India chairman, as well here with us. So if he can hear me, would love to, hear Aditya, your perspective as well on this question. Yeah.
Can you hear me, Rajiv?
Yeah.
Yes, Aditya.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on this discussion. I've been hearing since the beginning, and when I heard about baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, unfortunately, I don't fall in any of those generation. I'm generation A. I'm generation Alpha. So, and this change happened in actually 2009, when I was trying to look for an Airtel service center. And I was struggling, and I was very happy with my BlackBerry at that point of time, and I was struggling to find it. And when my chauffeur asked me, Saab, where do you want to go? I said, I'm looking for Airtel. And he picked up a smartphone from his pocket. And he said, why are you running around this here? And then I said, wow, that's technology, man, And then that's when I took a decision, I'm born in the month of July. So every July is a new year for me, I'm 1 year old. So July 2021, I'm 1 year old. I'm learning, okay? So I mean, that's the speed at which technology is changing today. Okay. And I'll tell you one more good point, Rajiv, you made was on the gig economy. While we touched on the gig economy, we didn't sort of explore or dwell further into it. But that's the one which is going to disrupt several industries going forward. Right. So if we all understand gig, it means remote working, people working, there's a lot of skill and talent working probably in Alaska, but don't want to travel down to India, but we can, sort of effectively use them. And with technology, the gig can be controlled. The consulting industries today will not be as large, as big as you see few years from today because of the gig coming into place. There's so much efficiency for an industry to go to a gig, provided, somebody gives them comfort. Yes, credibility is there, accountability is there, discipline is there, and that too, technology is something that you can get. So gig is something that we all as consulting should look forward to, because 27 years I was in consulting, is just recently I moved to industry, and I can see the power of gig economy. And the third element is on the mentoring part of it. I don't think today, with my experience of the big four and in a big, I have the ability to mentor generation A today. Okay. And again, great examples. They mentor us today. My son keeps asking, he's 12 years old. He's saying, what is the use that you're using iPhone 7S when it's iPhone 13 that's come in? What are you talking about? Generation 5 phone or the generation 11, and you're going to give me gyan? He tells me that way. The attitude, the arrogance, he speaks to me, and he actually tells me the difference between the two, and he says, my phone can go up to 2 centimeters and take a great picture. What does your phone do? So I don't think, I tried my best, but I think I've given up. I can't mentor him. I'm just 1 year old. For me, he's just a day old, today. So that's something we need to relook at. We really need to relook at, sometimes, we always feel that, with experience you learn, right? But these guys don't need to learn, right? They have the data with them. We keep talking about data. All the mistakes and successes that we had in the past is all available to them in data. Sometimes a green leaf, a yellow leaf has to give way to a green leaf. This is younger generation. They're the one who are going to take it forward. Right. So I think these are some of the elements I look at, as a part of my risk management, as a chief risk officer of a big conglomerate. I look at that, what is changing, continuous changing. So we should never be disrespectful for anything new, any new thoughts that come. And I think the idea or that example you gave of, mentoring the CEO or the MD, I think it's fantastic. And I think we should, at our position, we should respect that there's possibility that someone could be better than us, and give that opportunity. We learn with them as well. So, that's a limited 2-3 points I want to make here.
Super, Aditya. And I made note of this point that every year on your birthday, you become 1 year old only. So fantastic way. Fantastic.
Basically, buy a new phone. That's what his message.
So that happens in October, because my son is a fan of Apple. So every October they come with a new launch, and from 10:30 India time till 12:30, he's glued on to what are the new features, and he keeps telling me, you're outdated.
Aditya, I just got an i30 and I'm struggling. I'm learning.
But he won't. That's a point. We will continue. We will struggle, but he won't. That's the reason. That's the point I was trying to make.
Very true. Very true. So maybe, thank you so much, Aditya. And maybe, I would invite, maybe one more member, anyone, who is on the call right now, to share his or her perspective on this question. I will repeat the question again. And it is, in this gig economy, where our, younger colleagues they want to try different things, audit, business finance, controllership, supply chain. Not only vertical growth, they're looking for horizontal, growth as well. In that type of environment, how we can, nurture the next gen auditors? Any one of you can feel free to unmute and share your perspective.
May I go take a go at it, Rajiv?
Yes, sir. Yeah, please.
Okay. First of all, fantastic session. I mean, I've enjoyed whatever has been said, whether it was Dr. Hock Chye or Rajiv or Divya. All your points are so valid and so relevant. I do not have any DRs who are the next gen, but we all behave very young. We are all, try to be as savvy as possible. We have a co-sourced environment wherein we engage with the auditors, audit firms representatives, and those guys are all very young. They are in their 20s, not even 30s. They're 20s, so they keep challenging us and keep making us wanting to this, we can do it this way, we can do it that way. So that keeps us on our toes. Having said that, I also want to touch upon another point. I mean, I've been with the Tatas for 33 years. When I joined Tata Tea in Calcutta, there was an unwritten rule that you have to join in internal audit post-qualification. And so much so that even the head of internal audit went on to become the head of finance, always, invariably. So what it gave us was that you went through the audits of all the divisions, you went through the processes. Those days there were no written processes and all it. I'm talking about 33 years back. But it helped us pick up the nuances of each division, each operation, each geography, because we went on to audit the entire gamut of operations that Tata Tea had. Thankfully, it was only India at that time. But when post internal audit, when we moved to finance, I was ready to take up any operations, any geography. In fact, I have done 8 assignments, 8 different locations, and 12 different assignments till date, and across industries, across geographies, and across multiple JVs as well. So before it starts looking like I'm presenting my CV here, the idea is only to explain how it went about. Those days there was no technology, but there was what we can call the word of mouth. There was a very good exchange that we had between our leader and us. Even today we have in between me and my DRs and my, as I said, the manpower who works for the audit firms. We can call them, as Dr. Chye also mentioned, about mentor-mentee. I call them savviness versus experience, or as Divya also mentioned about impatience. So impatience versus maturity. I mean, there needs to be a good balance between the two. I mean, I'm not even talking about industry specific, whether you want to go into industry specific or operation specific, like supply chain or whatever. But I'm only talking about general, because once you are an internal audit and you get the drift of things, you can fit into any operation, and I would dare say any function as well. So that's what I would like to bring about, and I would say that once you are done with internal audit, you can get into any areas.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And till the time you called that out, I didn't feel that you were sharing your CV. Huh? So it was all learning for us that how you have had different experience, and how you with that experience you felt so comfortable picking up any role. I mean, that becomes really important, and that is why even with my team, I encourage them that even though some of you want to be a career auditor, have a short stint at least in one of the other functions. Yeah. And why I do that, because in one of my previous organization, I was part of the controllership function. And I actually understood the pains which we as auditor give to them when I was on the other side of the table.
Absolutely.
And I felt so bad that, what we do to them many times.
Absolutely.
And, and that is, when I developed what, for example, Divya also mentioned, emotional, quotient, EQ, in favor of my colleagues who are on the other side of the table. Yeah. And that is the reason sometimes my team, my audit team, they get upset with me when their hard-earned audit issue, which they are fully, they are treating as their baby, and Divya is, there, so she can vouch for that. Their well-groomed baby, which is an audit issue, many times I say it is not an audit risk. I mean, it's not a business risk at all. So we should not be even reporting it. So we have that, many times we have, I share that to you because I have worked on the other side of the table, and hence, I could very easily, connect with your point that if you have worked in 8 different, locations, 12 different roles or projects, what type of different, exposure it would have given to you as a, complete professional. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that perspective.
Very, very valid, Rajiv. In fact, I've also been the other side, and so that's why it helped me kind of pick up these. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And I know now Narendra again has a very practical poll ready. So let's see that. Yeah, Narendra.
What frightens you the most about the shift from human power to machine power?
Yeah.
You can make more than one selection. It's open. It's not, you need not to select only one. You can select 2, 3, whatever you feel like.
Very good. So around 25% of you have voted. This is going to be close.
Wow. This is good. This is a good poll.
Yeah, around 70% voted. So other 30%, please. Another maybe 15-20 seconds, and then we'll close this one. Yeah, almost 85% voted. Yeah, very good. So Narendra, shall we end this one now?
Agreed. I'm ending it.
Okay, and let's share the result. Okay, great. So almost 60% votes have gone to no fear, I'm ready for the future. I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah. Let me tell you,
Awesome.
Let me tell you, since I'm co-host, I was not allowed to vote, but my vote was to first one, fear of the unknown. Yeah.
I'll also agree. Mine was also fear of unknown.
So if, those of you who are ready for the future, I mean, that's really, really fantastic. And it means you are already, what we call doing or in that space, where whatever new technology is coming, whatever new, or I would say industry 4.0, if I have to summarize anything and everything which is, impacted by emerging technology, industry 4.0 is the best example. So I'm, very glad that 60% of you are actually, fearless, and you are feeling ready for industry 4.0, because believe me, in next maybe 5 to 7 years, the premium which many of us carry for traditional auditing, yeah, it will go away. Yeah. And those of us who know how to audit, for example, 3D printing or the cloud, but cloud will continue to be a big risk area. So while it is no longer an emerging risk, it is now an actual risk. 3D printing, AI, ML, auditing AI, ML, auditing bots, that is something in next few years, and we don't have to wait for 5 years. In next few years, these are the ones which will, carry the premium. So thank you so much, for sharing your views.
Thank you for discussing the poll results, Rajiv. For me, I would have voted for continuous upskilling. I think that's very stressful for me. At my age, if I learn today, I just realized that tomorrow is going to be outdated. I got to learn something new. And at my age, where I can't move too fast, too quick, and this continuous upskilling is a challenge for me. So with that note, let me ask Divya a question. Divya, who do you think is best positioned to train the next generation auditors, in your view? Over to you, Divya.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hock, for asking that question. But I think this is a really, really tricky one, right? I think. So, if I have to, give my perspective in a different way, well, I'd say, can it be Google, right? That's what we all do today, right? Folks of my generation, we are very inquisitive, right? Even when I get a sneeze or, I'm feeling sick, even before waiting to go to the doctor, I want to Google and find out, why I'm experiencing this particular symptom and, what could go wrong. So that's something, I can't wait, right? I want to get my answers right away. That's number one. But having said that, where in today's dynamic environment, so more than point in time auditing, right? That's no longer the expectation. Today, I think the expectation or the need of the hour is, continuous controls assurance and agile risk assessment. So in this scenario, with respect to at least the, soft skills, softer side of things, that is something which, no book or no course can teach us. That is something which will come only from practice and experience. I think someone mentioned that, there has to be a balance between maturity and, our impatience, right? So that is something which, for us, it is going to come from, a continuous practice and, application on the job. Now, with respect to the, options available to upskill ourselves, I think there is wealth of information available, right? There is plethora of opportunities for learning and development today. There are multiple online sites, where I can select the subject and I can, immediately enroll for a course and start learning. Now, what is it that doesn't, really help us, or where we would need guidance is, as you rightly mentioned, or, I think there are other esteemed members also on this call who mentioned it. It is the mentorship and the guidance from the seniors, right? From the experienced CAEs. Because, since we want to try out a lot of new things, we might get lost, right? But to, tell us that, this is what you're actually good at, this is where your skills get married to the tool you're actually studying. We don't get lost. I think these days, Googling is getting mentioned as a, skill in the CV. I think there was also a buzz around it lately. So, but then that's the thing. Today, there is too much data, as comparison to the earlier times when there was no data. There is a lot of data today. There's a wealth of information. So in order to maintain the right focus, and help us with, choosing the right learning avenue and, also providing the right guidance, that is something which is irreplaceable, right? I think, and also to mention that there couldn't be one straitjacket formula. I think there is no one size that fits all. So I feel the best avenue is self-learning, self-paced learning, because every individual is different. Every individual has his, own way of thinking and own pace of coping up in this dynamic environment. So I think my answer would be, self-paced learning, of course, coupled with the guidance and mentorship of the experienced CAEs. I think that is what will, help us sail through this dynamic environment.
Thank you, Divya. I agree you completely, because self-paced learning, it takes a bit of motivation to want to learn something. And I also agree that to do self-paced learning these days is fairly easy compared to my time, because there are many online courses like Coursera, Udemy, and I've taken a few myself. So, but before I close this discussion, let me pass to Rajiv for any final thoughts on this before we go on to the next section. So.
When Divya was sharing this perspective, I was recollecting that why the classroom trainings which we organize every month, why they are not so effective. So now I got the reason that, the team actually prefers the Google over the PPTs which my team prepares, for training. They like, on demand versus on order. No,
Right.
on order means on instruction, on
Right.
boss instruction.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Divya, for sharing. And that way,
Thank you, Divya.
And that way I thought, let's then totally redefine. I'm sure, I have to discuss with my team internally. A very different idea, Divya, which you have encouraged me to think about is, let me cancel all the planned training programs. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two, let me put all the PPTs, obviously after sanitization, onto Google and put them on paid media, which means we put them as ad, so that, when the NextGen auditors like you, when you are searching for example, control testing for purchase and payable, then the PPT which my team has developed, it comes on top of your search. And since you prefer on demand, training, my training PPT will come on top of it. And I don't have to spend a lot on Google, because Google makes all these ads very economical. So, without spending much money, I can ensure that the training programs are equally effective and they are delivered to you the way you prefer, which is whenever I feel like. So that's a thought that just came to me. We'll see, whether we can, whether it is feasible or not, whether we can materialize. But now at least one thing I learned, why the learning in the classroom is not so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajiv. Actually, it's a good point to put whatever you can on Google or even YouTube, because I noticed the younger generation likes to pop over to YouTube and see what they can learn in 3 to 5 minutes, that kind of thing. But let me stop here, and let me pass over to Narinda to our next and last poll. Over to you, Narinda.
Yeah. Maybe before that, Dr. Hock, since I see we have, Satish ji as well on the call.
I think Nagesh has joined. Satish, I think I saw that he had actually moved on, I think he had to go somewhere.
Okay.
Nagesh is here. Maybe we can request Nagesh to.
Oh, yes. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Nagesh ji.
Welcome, Nagesh.
Hi, Nagesh.
Nagesh is the former president of CAE India. He was.
Hi.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Great, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah. Sorry, I barged in very late, and I really don't know what was getting discussed. I could hear Divya talking in great kind of thing about mentor, and also I really loved it. So you tell me what exactly you have in mind. Dr. Ong.
Yeah.
How do you consider Indian fraternity of internal audit sitting in your country? That's what I would like to hear from you.
Okay, I come from a small country. The population of Malaysia is about 34 million. I mean, nothing compared to 1.4 billion in India. I think your younger generation is more than the population of Malaysia. So what I'm trying to say is, in where you are in India and subcontinent itself, there's a lot of youth and a lot of young population. So the potential you have and the kind of technology that's currently available, if you merge the youth, the energy, and the technology together, the sky's the limit. I mean, we're not even talking about going to Mars. We're talking going about to Jupiter next. So just on that note, all we need to do, from my perspective, Nagesh, is to nurture them to be the future leaders. Over to you, Nagesh.
Yeah. No, I must tell you, as far as India is concerned, first is we have the advantage of we speak good English. That's one. Second one is we are in a way lived very comfortably with UK and USA in terms of their relationship. So you will see many internal auditors who are sitting in India doing work for them in their countries. And that work is in fact going unattended. I mean, not getting that kind of credit for all those kind of teams that are working on. We have humongous kind of potential in India on that, from that perspective. And our youngsters of internal audit, their standards have really improved tremendously. We are in fact looking seriously to artificial intelligence in real sense. And you will see a huge, I would say, changes that are happening. And some of the organizations which are in fact are seeing no additional recruitments, can we do maximum out of whatever little that we have from our own people resources wise. So training becomes a very important point, and that's why you will see all these youngsters looking forward to the the knowledge which is there on that account. And I think in that context, I must say Naval and Narinder are doing great job. Their their groups are full of so much of knowledge on that particular part, which is really helping them out tremendously. Probably these service providers may not like this initiative, but I think they are doing a great job in that regard. So that's what it is. And I think when it comes to the internal audit in India, I must say that, the audit committee and the board has started recognizing the importance and the contribution that my internal audit fraternity does. Now, I have moved out to the other side. I'm no more an internal auditor professional that I used to be. I was, of course, part of Tata Motors earlier when I retired from there, and then I was a part of ICICI Bank once upon a time.
Okay.
Where we, I was attending to audit committee. Now I am chair of audit committee on almost 9 companies, in fact. And I will tell you, the sort of expectation from audit committee has increased tremendously. And I'm not talking only from my perspective, all independent directors, they look forward to, audit contributing immensely in that value addition in control assurance kind of framework. And I think for them, there are 4 pillars. One of them is, of course, internal audit. The second one is the CFO's office, which gives them the internal control related assurance. Third one are the statutory auditor, which are very critical and important from that perspective. And the 4th person is the compliance person, which is very critical on that account. Out of 9 boards, 5 companies are regulated by 5 different regulators. I have insurance company, it has a separate regulator. I am on a bank where RBI comes in. Then I'm on a part of a commodity exchange where, SEBI is looking like RBI or IRDA. They are hands-on on our affairs on that account. Then I have a housing finance company where a National Housing Bank is also one of the regulators. So I have varied kind of regulators, and they also look forward to internal audit in real sense. So I think I can clearly see there are all exciting times ahead for my internal audit profession. And by virtue of that, even the Institute of Internal Auditors has come out with a great kind of challenge exam, which I think for chartered accountants, and most of us here, you will find 70-80% of the people are chartered accountants, I must say. And they are very competent and very comprehensive kind of people. They know the subjects matter well. They know what accounts means, what finance means. They know what commercial sense of it. They are good in economics also. So they are the people who are coupled with this internal audit fraternity can do real great value addition. And these challenge exams, once it's happening, you will find big number coming out of India. And I think IIA also will start recognize us in a big way. That's where I'm saying basically. So we have great time for all my youngsters here. So they are all great representatives, and they keep on discussing with passion in the group about artificial intelligence, what can go wrong kind of scenario. Like for instance, Naval Bajaj is getting specialized in ESG related matter.
Wow.
What is in store for us? So a lot of things are getting discussed. So we have exciting times for those people. I only wish, and this is where Bhaskar will join me, I wish I was 20 years younger. I would have really loved to be with these kids, basically, as I would like to call it.
Nagesh did not he also says that sometimes we also exchange natural stupidity also, which is a very important matter.
Yes.
Thank you, Nagesh.
So, Dr. Ong, thank you very much for joining us in this particular thing. I'm really excited, and that's a great initiative taken by Narinder. Yeah. And Narinder is doing a great job for us in that.
Yeah, Nagesh, Janita and Aditya also had joined. In fact, Janita from South Africa.
She was also there. Okay, great. Yeah.
Even Aditya is also there. And of course, Dr. Hock, it's all due to Dr. Hock's presence, I guess,
Yes.
No, I'm actually looking at the time, very consciously looking at the time. we got an hour and a half of this session. We've been talking. I guess we can talk for another 2 more hours, but we have 2 more minutes to go. So I wasn't sure whether we should extend it for a few more hours, or shall we maybe open the floor to Q&A. And Narendra, I leave it to your good hands. But
what I suggest is, if it is possible, we can run our 5th poll, and thereafter it's up to you, Rajiv and Divya, to decide how to proceed. Whatever decision you take, poll won't take much time, because poll is curated with a lot of curiosity in the minds of everyone. So my request is, let's complete the poll.
Sounds good to me. Go for it.
Yeah. So Narendra, after poll, maybe we can have a couple of questions, and then we can,
yeah, you all can decide.
Yeah,
whatever way you wish to.
Thank you.
So which of the following you think next-gen auditors prefer? Being entrepreneurial, short and informal communication, boss they respect, new opportunities over money. So request all participants to please participate. Poll.
Oh, of course. I realized I was trying to vote. I forgot that I'm a panel member. I can't vote. Oh, that's not fair. I want to vote.
If I permit all guys to panelists to participate, it will become rigged.
Wow, this is so telling. It's showing that new opportunities or money is actually leading in terms of the responses, which means that our next generation is actually looking at the opportunities rather than just the money. So it's very telling for us. The next thing that's coming up quite a distance is actually being entrepreneurial. So new opportunities over money is actually leading. Is about close to 50% now. So.
I remember when I entered into the audit, during that time, the aspiration used to be we should get a boss we like, boss we respect. That was the time period.
Right.
And there is a survey also which states the people leave job because of the bosses only.
Right.
So right now it's altogether changing. Whatever might be the boss, you give me the opportunity to work.
Yeah.
Or it is presumed the boss is going to be good one. Bad boss can't survive.
So we can close the poll, Narendra, and let's share the results.
Okay, closing.
Narendra, in that context, I will tell you my own story. I left ICICI Bank. My deputy became the chief of internal audit. I left JSW. My deputy became the chief of audit. Similarly, in Reliance Retail, it became the same, and so in Tata Motors. So I think idea is you require a good boss who will mentor and who will ensure that when he leaves, he doesn't carry his person with him, but he leaves him to run that particular company. So I think that is what is really critical and important.
I agree, 100%.
So true. Thanks for sharing, sir. So almost 90% votes are towards new opportunities over money and being entrepreneurs. I mean, they're so different,
Wow.
Than the than our generation, I would say, not the older, but our generation. Yeah. So yes, boss, we respect you, something which used to be on top of our mind, and money used to be also very important factor. Very good.
Yes, I agree. That also used to be one of the critical area.
Yeah. Okay. So Narendra, I see one question on the chat. This was asked by Rahul Ranjan. Let me read out that question. Tools are available, but how can we get the opportunity to apply those tools? So Dr. Hock, maybe I can start, and please, you and Divya, please add.
Sure.
So Rahul, my view is, number one, very recently, the trend is changing towards no code. Yeah, very recent. So far, for example, whether it is AI, ML, robotic, data analysis, we used to feel that to become a data scientist or to actually make full exploitation of these technologies, you need to become, a programmer or coder. But very recently, the trend is changing, and there are many startups who are working to make them, to provide you the front end so that you don't have to code, and whatever insights you want by drag and drop, you can do it. So just wait maybe for some more time, and that will, my feeling is that will become more valuable versus you and me learning the code. That is one. Secondly, we can use those newer technologies or even the new code technologies only when we know what they can do for us. Hence, I feel it is very important for all of us to have at least the working knowledge of what all these technologies can help us do. So we don't need to become expert in any one of them, because for expertise, we can hire, younger consultants, or we can have younger team members with us. But what we'll ask them to do, unless we know what that individual, that particular tool can do for us. So and that's where I also am, I invest some time almost every weekend to learn some of these emerging technologies, emerging tools, so that I at least know what these tools can do for me. And then whenever is the right time, I have money, I have time, whenever is that time and money comes, I can, then pick up the right tool, right technology for my company or for my, for my function. Dr. Hock, Divya, please feel free to add.
Sure. If I could add, it's a very good question, Rahul. I guess it resonates very closely to what Divya had mentioned earlier. You learn you learn all the knowledge that you want, but you cannot apply them. There's no opportunity for you to apply them. So I was just thinking, true. I mean, I do learn quite a bit, but sometimes I'm trying to figure out how to apply them, right? So the question is for us as leaders, we need to create opportunities for them to apply the knowledge, so that to learn that skills. Like a good example is that when I was a CAE in Asian Development Bank, I tried to create opportunities to exploit the technology. For example, we used to do a lot of things manually. Like for example, we look at say a loan document, want to see whether the loan conditions are actually included in the loan system for us to do monitoring, and that kind of test typically take 2 hours. So so I spoke to a few of my team members saying, you guys know about robotic process automation, right? Bots and all this. Why don't you just design a simple bot that takes away the manual task of doing comparing A to B, and that's what they did. So they actually designed a bot that does the comparison for completeness in 2 seconds. So now we have a bit more time to do other things. But the point I'm trying to say is that as internal audit, as CAE or internal audit leaders, we need to find opportunities and seek opportunities out there so that the young who's actually eager in learning and master so much knowledge either through Google or through online learning needs to find a way to exploit that knowledge so that they can be converted to skills. Let me stop here. Over to you, Divya.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Hock. I think in this context, maybe I'll share my experience, right? I think opportunity comes from, getting empowered. And I think that is something where I think Rajiv in our case has always given us, right? He's always shown that trust that, for trying something new or doing a particular audit procedure in a different way, no one knows, whether when you're changing, whether, the new technique or, the new approach will be successful or not. But, trying it out and then failing, I think the courage for doing that, I think that's where the opportunity also comes from. So, and thanks to, all the senior CAEs and, in this case, Rajiv, since I've been working in his team, he's always given that. So that I feel empowered that, okay, even if I try something new, I have that opportunity. I can fail and, I can rectify. And then that confidence is something I think which becomes a opportunity for me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Divya. Thanks, Dr. Hock. So
I
don't see any other question on the chat.
Yeah. We can, I think so, close if everybody permits, or you want to add something, Dr. Hock?
No, I'm fine because I so very conscious about time. We have exceeded about 10 minutes, and I know you those you guys need to go for lunch and for breakfast. Actually, I need to go for my late lunch. But I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to yak about the next generation, and hopefully through the process, an hour and a half, we got to know each other. We got a bit of bonding. Now I know what Divya looks like. I know what Rajiv looks like. I know what Narinder looks like, and Nagesh and many others. So now we have actually have a bit more emotional connection or social connection, and I'm sure there are opportunities for us to do more things going forward. Otherwise, over to you, Narinder, and thank you very much for inviting me to share the little that I know in whatever I do. So, thank you.
I will also like to thank Dr. Hock to you, the way you have given the time, the enthusiastically you participated, the way you give an idea. This idea, the topic idea was yours. I was uncertain whether the people are going to come or not going to come. There's a lot of uncertainty, but your passion for not only the internal audit, but for the program also, it was infatuating. You encouraged. I also went wholeheartedly with this because you pushed back when we were going to have a meeting, when we are going to discuss, when we are going to do. It's really, really wonderful. And I would request you to be associated with us. You are a nice gentleman. Whether you accept or not accept, I am going to run after you under any circumstances. Really, thanks a lot. The second thanks goes to Bhaskar sir. Bhaskar sir has come for the first time on the program for introducing, but he has been behind me when you are going to do new program. Why don't you invite this guy? Why don't you invite that guy? Why don't you do this? Why don't you take up this topic? So he is continuously motivating, communicating, getting time out of his busy schedule and pampering like anything for the programs under CAE Centre. I thank him a lot. And Rajiv is a wonderful guy. I just gave him a call stating we are going to have this topic. Even I didn't have the topic at that point of time. I said, I want you to come and we need to have a discussion. He said, I am there with you. So thereafter, all things which we did, flyer was cluttered, he helped it too. I asked for the question, he shared the question. I asked for the poll question, he shared the poll question. We had a decision that we wanted someone who to represent the next gen. He has an idea that this could be the next gen, and next gen Divya has been proved to be a wonderful. I have just fantastic seeing it. I don't have a confidence to speak like the way you spoke. I really admire. Till I shudder. Till I feel, all right, I am going to speak in front of Nagesh Saab, there will be Satish sir, there will be so many, Raman Saab, there will be so many seniors looking at me if I fumble, if I do the mistake. But she has spoken like wonderful, I would say. Really an excellent choice. I thank Rajiv for proposing her. She will be a good friend of ours in the future. And I see a great career for her. Great career. I wish you her all the best. In the end, I would like to thank my audience and even Janita ma'am for coming, taking time out, and our IA president, India president, for Aditya for taking time out and coming and attending this program. It's all love of you all guys, which encourages us, Naval and Bhaskar Saab, to conduct these programs. Really, thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you all.
Learned a lot
Thanks,
out of this.
thanks, Narinder, and keep it up, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful opportunity. I'm really honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dr.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have
Bye,
a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Same to you. Thanks.